The NFL scouting combine has come and gone, and a lot of rankings and mock drafts have been adjusted after the measurements and workouts. News also broke this week that the Redskins are swapping 2020 later-round picks with the Denver Broncos to acquire QB Case Keenum. The Redskins aren't done with the QB market, and will reportedly still look to the draft to get another QB. Which round that happens in is the big question. Duke QB Daniel Jones remains the current favorite from this year's underwhelming class. There is also some Drew Lock, Kyler Murray, and even Dwayne Haskins love in this week's roundup, including a trade-up to. Two mocks also have the Redskins trading the. We are seeing a lot more offensive players mocked to the Redskins this week. There are multiple WRs going to Washington in the first round, and both TEs from Iowa get drafted at. The defense gets some attention with DL, OLB, and CB. Should the Redskins still draft a QB in the first round? Is trading for Josh Rosen the best long-term answer this year? Which non-QB will help the Redskins most this year? Trade. SB Nation, Catter, Marquise Brown, WR, Oklahoma CBS Sports, Wilson, like the Dolphins, the Redskins need a quarterback, especially if Alex Smith can't play in 2019. But instead of targeting one here, they draft burner Marquise Brown, who reminds us of Tyreek Hill and Emmanuel Sanders. Brown suffered a Lisfranc injury to his foot, but he's expected to be ready later this summer. $PN in $IDER, McShay, no change from my previous mock, as the speedy Brown heads to the nation's capital. Washington will be looking for improvements in multiple areas, but adding a burner would open up this offense. Brown has good hands and can outrun just about anyone. AJ Brown, WR. Ole Miss fan cited the Washington Redskins have a lot of questions to be answered this offseason, and one is a question that they thought they took care of last offseason. During the 2018 offseason, Washington traded for, and then extended, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Alex Smith, who was off to a solid start for the team in 2018. However, Smith had his leg snapped against the Houston Texans towards the middle of the season, and the Redskins saw their first-place spot in the NFC East quickly fade away. Smith has already been ruled out for the 2019 season, and you have to think that if the Arizona Cardinals do decide to move on from Josh Rosen, Washington will be in play for the 2018 first-round quarterback. If they do make a move for Rosen, they will obviously not be in the market for a quarterback, and they could even have to trade this pick away. However, adding a wide receiver to the offense makes a lot of sense in the middle of the first round, and A.J. Brown from Ole Miss could be the second wideout off the board. Brown was a dominant player during his time at Ole Miss, leading the SEC in receiving yards in each of the last two seasons. He may not be as freakish as his teammate, D.K. Metcalf, but he should hear his name called in the first round, and the Redskins would be a nice landing spot for him. N'Keal Harry, WR. Arizona State Newsday. Alex Smith's injury puts some uncertainty into Washington's plans at quarterback, but the top three quarterbacks may be gone by this point. In that case, look for them to bolster an underperforming receiver core. N'Keal Harry has the size, 6'2", 3/8", 228 pounds, and hands to make tough 50-50 grabs, especially in the red zone. The Ringer scouting report Harry is a highly productive wideout with the frame to box out defenders and take punishment over the middle. The former Sun Devil can line up all over the field, operating out of the slot or on the wing. He plays strong on contested passes, positioning himself for the catch before going up high to pluck the ball out of the air in traffic. He lacks elite quickness, and often takes a few wasted steps before getting off the line, but Harry can separate enough at the top of his routes, winning against close coverage with subtle push-offs and his knack for shielding corners away from the ball with his body. He's aggressive as a runner after the catch, and Arizona State used him on screen passes frequently. He did mix in some head-scratching drops. In the run game, he's tenacious and competitive as a downfield blocker. Why he could rise. A player who posted incredible production, Harry has prototypical size, is highly competitive, and has the tool set to be an early contributor in the red zone. Why he could fall. Some teams may view him more as a number 2 possession receiver than a go-to-know one. He may struggle to separate against bigger, physical pro corners. DK Metcalf, WR, Ole Miss Roto-World beat writer JP Finley said he's heard lots of Ashburn folks say they need a playmaker. That is DK Metcalf, TJ Hawkinson, Iowa Bleacher Report. Miller, what? Not a quarterback? In this scenario, the Redskins will be the favorite to land Josh Rosen from the Cardinals for a day 2 pick package. With Rosen on board, a strong offensive line, and 2018 second-round running back Darius Guice ready to make his debut, the front office can look to upgrade from aging Vernon Davis and oft-injured Jordan Reed at tight end. TJ Hawkinson didn't run a blazing 40 at the Combine, but his all-around game is what head coach Jay Gruden needs. It's also what Rosen will need to open up the Washington offense. CBS Sports, Trapasso, 2 Iowa tight ends going in the top 15 would be glorious. Hawkinson is a multi-tooled player with all-pro upside as a receiver and blocker. Round 2, Paris Campbell, WR, Ohio State. Campbell made a living running the shallow cross at Ohio State, and he'd do much of the same in Jay Gruden's West Coast defense. Clutch points. Veteran quarterback Alex Smith won't play in 2019, as he continues to recover from a terrible leg injury that jeopardizes his NFL career. As such, Washington has traded for Case Keenum in hopes of having him compete with Colt McCoy. Likewise, finding weapons for whichever quarterback suits up this year is a priority. An Iowa tight end TJ Hawkinson is arguably the best yards after catch player at his position in this year's class. Noah Fant, IowaPatriots.com. Thanks. Washington has to find another quarterback given Alex Smith's uncertainty, and it could be in the market for Josh Rosen or Case Keenum in the coming weeks. Taking Duke passer Daniel Jones this high feels reachish, but it's not out of the question. But finding a playmaker in the passing game should be the priority in the first round, and Fant fits the bill. He had a very impressive combine showing, and he's ready to contribute early as an NFL-ready pass catcher with game-breaking speed. Daniel Jones, QB, Duke. Washington Post. Clayton, with Alex Smith almost certainly out for the season, the Redskins have to find a quarterback to compete with Colt McCoy for the starting job. Jones would give them a future hope if Smith still can't play in 2020. CBS Sports. Brinson, look, the bottom line is the Redskins are either going to have to sign a quarterback in free agency, trade for one, or use this pick on a guy who is decently ready to play at the pro level. Touchdown wire. In this hypothetical draft, it's the Giants that trade for the services of Josh Rosen, not Washington. And whatever Jay Gruden may say about his confidence in Colt McCoy as the team's starter, we know better than that. With Alex Smith's future very much in doubt, it's time to give Gruden his first developmental quarterback since Andy Dalton. Jones is an overdraft here, but a lot of quarterbacks are overdrafted. The question is whether Jones has the potential refinement and consistency to run an offense as complex as Gruden's, and all signs point to yes there. The Athletic. The Skins' situation at the game's most important position is murky at best. It doesn't seem likely that Alex Smith will play in 2019 because of the gnarly leg injury he suffered in November. Since Dwayne Haskins, a D.C. area native, and Murray had already come off the board, that meant selecting Jones. Washington won't need Jones to step in and start Week 1, Colt McCoy can handle that. But they'd love for the 6'5", 220-pound playmaker to grab the reins sooner rather than later. Tariq El-Bashir. Dane's take, while Jones is a nice player and I think he will win games in the NFL, I'm not convinced he has the ceiling required to overcome a mediocre support system. I really like his cerebral approach, but his arm is average and his internal clock is an issue. To me, Jones has the skills to develop into a AAB-level passer in the NFL, which isn't necessarily a negative thing. However, is Washington looking for another Kirk Cousins-like quarterback? Draft tech. The Redskins are in the middle of every trade, draft, or free agency rumor possible. It makes sense, as the team has made questionable decisions throughout Daniel Snyder's tenure in D.C. Believe it or not, though, the Redskins have actually been pretty careful since Bruce Allen was hired in 2010, maybe too careful. The Redskins' moves have been lackluster, and as local radio legend Kevin Sheehan puts it, Bruce Allen is great at getting a great deal on an average player, but that doesn't create long-term success. What does? A good QB on a rookie deal. Daniel Jones is, in my opinion and the opinion of several others, the best QB prospect in this draft. If he hits, the Redskins have fixed the Alex Smith cap situation in one fell swoop. Round 2, Taylor Rep. S. Washington. The Redskins have two solid starters at CB, if healthy, in Quinton Dunbar and Josh Norman. Beyond those two, however, the team employs corners that have yet to start their third season in the NFL. While Fabian Moreau, Adonis Alexander, Danny Johnson, and Greg Stroman may develop into something moving forward, they don't have safeties over the top to protect them when they make mistakes. Taylor Rapp is, in some analysts' opinion, the best safety in the draft, and he could certainly cover up many sins from those young CBs. Regardless of where the Redskins add new talent in the defensive backfield, the talent is needed to clean up the fourth-worst pass defense in the NFL. Round 3, Joe Jackson, OLB, Miami. Michael Jordan, E. Ohio State. Walter Football. If the Cardinals trade Josh Rosen, the Redskins will be the favorite to acquire him. They need a quarterback, but with Alex Smith on the books, they can't exactly afford to pay for a veteran. Rosen would make a ton of sense. If they can't get Rosen, they'll have to select a quarterback with this pick. Daniel Jones has positive arm strength and athleticism, and he could be a top 15 pick because of his upside. In fact, Charlie Campbell reported that 3 NFL general managers believed he'd be the first quarterback taken in the 2019 NFL Draft when polled during the Senior Bowl. Some are comparing him to Carson Wentz. Round 2, N'Keal Harry, WR, Arizona State. The Redskins should pair their rookie quarterback with a new starting receiver, which is something they desperately need. A 6'3" wide receiver with a good speed, N'Keal Harry has the potential to become a first-round prospect, especially after a strong combine. Round 3, Connor McGovern, E.C., Penn State. The Redskins have one of the worst centers in the NFL, so that's a position they'll sorely need to upgrade. They also need help at guard, so why not draft a player who can play all 3 interior offensive line positions? C.J. Conrad, Tay, Kentucky. Jordan Reed has proven to be unreliable, so the Redskins will need to find a new tight end. C.J. Conrad is a nice route runner with a good hands. Bleacher Report. Real, Kyler Murray, QB, Oklahoma. Draft Wire. Trade to. With Alex Smith's future in doubt, don't be surprised if Washington pulls the trigger and makes a move to land one of this year's top passers. In this scenario, it's the dynamic and versatile Murray. Round 3, Miles Boykin, WR, Notre Dame. Drew Lock, QB, Missouri. NFL.com. Jeremiah, Washington must address the QB position. However, if Josh Rosen does indeed become available, that could point them in a different direction with this pick. Dwayne Haskins, QB, Ohio State. The Draft Network. Haskins' slide stops thanks in part to the Redskins' uncertainty surrounding quarterback Alex Smith. Unfortunately, Smith faces a long road to recovery and doesn't figure to play anytime soon. The result? Washington gets a big-armed quarterback who can push the ball down the field in select spots while also working quick game from the pocket, much like Alex Smith. Sean Gary, The Michigan. Yahoo Sports. At home. This is lower than Gary commonly has been mocked, but don't be shocked to see him land in this range. Preston Smith is a free agent to be, and Gary could be viewed as an upgrade at that spot, carrying similar dimensions and athletic traits. The Redskins certainly need to figure out their quarterback plans this season, with Alex Smith likely to miss all of 2019 and Colt McCoy, at best, a short-term bridge option. Assume any competition added with this coming season in mind will come with a cheaper, shorter-term veteran or perhaps a later-round QB. Draft Blaster: The Washington Redskins need a QB, and they could be in line for a free agent veteran, and drafting one early. However, they are not a team to force the draft, and do have a number of needs at key positions. They are building a very talented defensive line, and with the addition of Gary, could have a dynamic, versatile line that can get to opposing QBs without having to bring extra rushers. Round 2, Will Greer, QB, West Virginia. Round 3, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, WR, Stanford. Michael Jordan, UGG, C, Ohio State. Clelin Ferrell, OLB, Clemson. NBC Sports Washington. The good news is the Redskins have options, though probably not with the quarterbacks outside of trading up or falling in love with Daniel Jones. The Redskins could consider a power receiver here in DK Metcalf. The interior offensive line must be upgraded, and those prospects should start coming off the board in the 15 to 20 range. Late season events moved inside linebacker into a priority category. Meanwhile, pass rusher Preston Smith has headed to free agency, and there's a sense the Redskins aren't making his retention a priority, according to a league source. The productive Ferrell might be better suited for 4-3 base defenses, but the Redskins used that look enough to justify tabbing a defender with 38 tackles for loss and 21 sacks over the last 2 seasons for the reigning national champions. Round 2, Taylor Rapp, S, Washington. The Redskins acknowledge their next starting guard isn't on the current roster. The safety position needs a makeover, and the receiver unit could stand a physical presence. All of those needs could be addressed here. With guard Chris Lindstrom and wide receiver Kelvin Harmon off the board, we'll go safety. Rapp, an All-American selection, entered the draft following his junior season. The draft range for one of the better tacklers in this safety class starts at 30. CBS Sports, Wagner McGow. The Redskins would love for a quarterback to fall to them. They'd love to move up for one. Or they'd love to trade for Rosen. That doesn't mean it'll happen, though. There's a chance they'll be left without an option this late into the first round. But they could do way worse than Ferrell, who is one of the better edge rushers in a deep draft class. Ferrell had 21 sacks over his last 2 seasons at Clemson. Brian Burns, OLB, Florida Street. NFL.com, Reuters, all assume Josh Rosen is traded to Washington in this mock, as he would be a relatively inexpensive acquisition to fill the void at quarterback. Burns' ability to add 20 pounds of weight and still move very well at the Combine may have earned him some fans among teams that need edge rushers in their 3-4 schemes, like Washington. Pro Football Focus: Burns had a breakout 2018 season, ranking 3rd in the country with 66 total pressures and a 90.4 pass rush grade. Greedy Williams, CB, LSU Sporting News. The Redskins might need to part with this pick should they trade for Rosen. But for now, should Haskins, Locke and Jones be off the board, they should be fine stealing the draft's best cornerback to be Josh Norman's replacement. Williams is a long, lean corner, 6'2", 185 pounds, who has rare speed, quickness and agility for his size. He's not the most physical player, but he is fundamentally sound in coverage, and he uses his length at the line of scrimmage to break up routes. 9%, 122 votes, 7%, 98 votes, 2%, 33 votes, 1%, 20 votes. 17%, 232 votes, 12%, 158 votes, 2%, 31 votes, 3%, 49 votes, 3%, 47 votes, 6%, 79 votes, 6%, 85 votes, 4%, 57 votes, 5%, 78 votes, 6%, 89 votes, 9%, 127 votes, 1305 votes. Total vote now.